Oh, yeah, you crazy SOBs. You know what time it is. You know what we're here to do. So let's get it. What is going on, you crazy sons of bitches? How in the hell are y'all doing on this fantastic Wednesday evening? I am Pest The Analyst. The crazy guy over here is R0B. And we have got some stuff to talk about. But before we do, let's go on ahead and get the appropriate R0B intro going, baby.
Finally, R0B and PTA have come back to you too. Now, we had the brand new GM Joe Shane press conference today. So this evening, we will be discussing the comments. We will be discussing the path. We will be discussing what we need to do in the future to get this team going. And we will also be discussing that man that we oh so hate because he talks with his nose, John Mara. Now, for any of you jabronis watching the stream, your YouTube people's champ needs you to do three things.
You said two, but it's three?
I know three. I made a mistake.
You was going to say two, but that was three.
One,
One.
we need you to like the video.
You should do that.
Two, we need you to subscribe to the channel. And three,
You should do that.
we need your candy asses to share the video right now.
You should do that. All the links are in the description, so you should definitely do that. Yeah.
And if you don't, there ain't no way. And R0B means no way that he will allow you to come forth to this stream again without me whooping your candy ass all over MetLife Stadium.
MetLife Stadium. Kicking your ass.
If you smell what PTA and R0B is cooking.
Yeah, that was the thing. So,
That's it.
shout out to Afghanistan. Shout out to Demi Thomas. Viz is up in here with his sorry piece of shit ass. I hope everybody is doing fantastic. Boy, oh boy. So let's just start here. Did you, or not did you? How many times did you watch the Joe Shane press conference today?
I watched it one full time, and then I went through it a couple of times, like to bits and pieces. I also watched a lot of clips that were posted on Twitter that people kind of shortened up after the press conference interviews with some reporters and stuff like that. But I watched it one full time and then kind of broke it up and watched like little bits and pieces.
Okay. But you feel like you got a good grasp on the things that were said?
Yeah, I feel like I got a good grasp on it, and the way that he was going. I know you didn't seem very pleased, but you kind of, put your hand on the watch. I'm gonna give him time, but I mean, look, he definitely seemed a little nervous, and rightfully so. He said he's been a Giants fan for so long. His first player that he met was Mark Bavaro, a legend, when it comes to the Giants.
Yep.
And
Sure did.
To be a fan of a team and to now become the general manager of that team, a lot of people would aspire to achieve something like that. So I can understand him being a little bit nervous, but I thought he did fairly well in answering the questions and addressing, some of the I would say concerns. Obviously, he can't go into a full-fledged detail of like what we all want to hear, like, hey, who you cutting, who you gonna sign, who you gonna go for. Obviously, because we don't have the head coach in place, but yeah, I mean, all in all, I thought he did well. I thought he did fine.
Ash is in the building. What's going on, Ash? Oh God, here he goes with his bullshit. Okay, so yeah, I watched it 3 times. On the first watch, you know what? I did say some outlandish shit to Ash Money. I did say some outlandish shit to him. I don't care. I stand by everything I say whenever I say it. Okay. But so when I first watched the video, right after it was all said and done, I went, right. That was literally that went. I went, And then I think you called me while I was watching it. You called me, but I was at work, so I was like, I can't. I'm watching this right now, and I'm at work, so I can't really talk about it. So yeah, I was like, and I believe I said to you, hold on a second, let me pull my phone out so I can read verbatim what I actually said to you. Okay, said I was gonna have a video. You asked me what was my thoughts so far. I said I'm not sold on them. I'll wait and see. To which you said Jesus, and I said we'll talk about it tonight. So I did say I was going to look you in your eyes. I did tell you that I was going to look you directly in your eyes. I did say that. Yes, I did. Directly in your eyes while it happens. But I don't really remember anything else that was said. I don't remember what else I said, but I did say I was going to look you in your eyes. So yeah, first watch, I was just kind of like, whatever. The press conference, in my opinion, was very, very boring, very vanilla. I watched it a couple more times. I took some notes on some things that stuck out to me, and I talked about those things in my video. If you have not gone and watched that video, please go watch that video. Make sure you hit the like on it. All right. We're trying to get back into this algorithm. So here's why I'm like, there was nothing in this press conference that this man said that made me want to stop what I was doing and listen. Like there was nothing in here that made me have to go, whoa, hold on, everything else has to stop because this man's talking. I need to hear what he's saying. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The reason why I had to watch the video multiple times was because it was just like my eyes were glazing over as I watched it. I appreciate you, Jason. Thank you very much. Asleep? Yeah, because like I'm just being completely honest. Like this dude's boring to me, right? And maybe that's not, and maybe that I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just was my initial impression. Listening to this guy talk, boring, absolutely boring. It felt like it didn't have any personality. It felt very bland. It felt very vanilla. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that was my thoughts when I first watched this video. Mm-hmm. So okay. So if you could pinpoint, and there's a bunch of things that we're going to talk about, right? Because I actually have them written down. But if you could pinpoint one takeaway from his press conference, if just one takeaway, this is the most vital point for R0B. What was it?
Well, kind of like two things, really. I like the fact that he said, that he wants to build through the draft, so build the team through the draft and fill some voids when it comes to free agency, but he wants the bulk of the team to be through the draft and be able to develop those players and retain those players, because those players are going to be the ones that are going to be representing your culture, what you're implementing into the team. And you know those guys. You've researched those guys. You know what you're getting out of those guys. Whereas free agents, you don't necessarily know what you're getting, what type of player you're getting, whatever the case may be. You're scouting these guys. It's like having a baby. You can grow them and mold them however you want with the draft pick. The other part of it was he seemed to basically kind of let us know that Daniel Jones is the quarterback going forward in 2022. And I don't know if he did that intentionally, if it was just kind of the way that he answered the question and he kind of showed his cards a little bit when maybe he shouldn't have. But then he kind of followed it up with other interviews after the press conference where he confirmed that both Saquon and Daniel Jones will be back next year. So those were the two things that I really kind of took away. And I understand them wanting to bring Daniel Jones back. Do I want him back? As you know, no. Like the fan in me, I want Russell Wilson. I want to see Deshaun Watson. Like, I want to see those guys, right? But I understand why they brought him back. And John Mara said it publicly. We've done nothing but fail this kid since he's gotten here, with changing head coaches, with changing offensive coordinators, with not producing the offensive line, with changing offensive line coaches. They want to truly be able to do right by him, to give him a fair evaluation by getting him a front office that's going to stay intact, getting him a head coach that's going to be there, getting him a coordinator that's going to be there, and building the offensive line, and then evaluating him. And I agree, it's hard to evaluate him based off of what we've seen. We've seen some flashes of good, we've seen some flashes of confusion, and we've seen some downright atrocity. So it's really been all over the place. But I feel for the guy. He's had 3 different coordinators now since he's been with the team. He's had 2 different head coaches. He's had 2 different offensive line coaches. So I can understand the evaluation. And with Saquon, that's another thing. We weren't able to block. We weren't able to open up running lanes. With rushing the ball really helps a young quarterback, and helping him develop and giving him time and assisting the offensive line in pass blocking. So they weren't able to get that done. And Saquon Barkley looked like a fraud, like a bust, like a one-year wonder.
Yeah.
So and so I can appreciate and understand them wanting to bring them back and reevaluate those 2 players. And I think that if what he says is that the offensive line is the main concern, or one of the main concerns, going into the offseason. And we've heard it before. We've never seen it delivered. So we'll give this guy the benefit of the doubt and what he's going to do. But those were the 2 things that I took away. We know 2 of the players that are going to be returning, that we thought at least one of those 2 could potentially be traded or cut or something or whatever. And we'd be looking to replace those positions. Now we know they'll be here. So
okay. All right.
Those are the 2 things I took away.
Okay, and you know what? Those are some very interesting points, especially when we're talking about DJ and Saquon. And this was something that I was going to bring up later, but we'll just talk about it now because you brought it up, and then we'll get to what was my takeaway from this. So all right, DJ, we've talked in length about DJ. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say about Daniel Jones. I know that I thought it would make sense to keep Daniel Jones here for this upcoming season because we got him under contract and he's cheap. I said we should not pick up his 5th-year option. I said that if we needed to get another look at him, he would have to earn it. And I stick by that, right? Now, in regards to Saquon, I wasn't sure what was going to happen to Saquon, so I'm interested to see that they're like, oh, we're going to keep him. We're going to keep him. We're going to
because out of those two guys, I thought Saquon would have been the one that they would have let go.
What's going on, Charlie? How you doing?
Because of his injuries and he got hurt last year. He got hurt this past season. So out of those two, I thought they would have retained Daniel Jones over Saquon.
Yeah. I agree. I thought
that would have been my guess.
I thought if someone was gonna go, it would probably be Saquon. However, we have Saquon on the last year of his deal as well. So now we've got two guys that are essentially on prove it deals, right? Are y'all gonna be the future or are y'all gonna be gone? So
well, when it comes to Daniel Jones, do they need to accept his 5th-year option in this offseason?
They need to do it before the beginning of next season. So it has to be during this offseason that they say we're going to pick up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option. I personally wouldn't do it, but here's why I think this is a slight issue in regards to keeping these two players on prove-it deals, okay? Both of these players are dependent on the offensive line. Daniel Jones is dependent on his wide receivers and tight ends, okay? And if we're going to say, hey, we're going to evaluate these two players based on this upcoming season, that means that you've got to get the offensive line fixed, right? You've got to. Because if the offensive line is still bad, then there is a built-in excuse for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And it's the same built-in excuse that we've had for them since they got here. Well, we don't really know what they are because the offensive line is bad. Well, now our general manager has created a situation where he legitimately has to fix the offensive line in an offseason. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good enough for our quarterback and our running back to prove their worth to stay here. That's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So
it's a slippery slope. It is.
Yeah, and so like when I hear like we think Saquon is still the talented player we thought he was. Hey, we think Daniel Jones has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. Cool, but y'all have to make sure that everything around these two players are put together well, because if you don't, they're gonna suck. Like that's what's gonna happen. And then we run into the situation where we can't trade Saquon Barkley and we can't trade Daniel Jones because we don't have rights to them, at the end of the year. Like that's where I see like, all right, this could be a problem. This could potentially be a legitimate issue. So we're gonna see. Now, when we're talking about that. When we're talking about that press conference, the thing that I felt like stuck out to me, what's going on, John? Opinion Sports, how you doing tonight, man? I appreciate you being here. The thing that stuck out to me was this quote where he said that there were no milestones. We are just looking for progress. The reason why that stuck out to me is because I have been preaching for progress. I have been begging for progress since I started my YouTube channel. I just want to see progress. Mm-hmm. I don't expect for us to win the Super Bowl next year. I don't even care if we make the playoffs, okay? But can we at least have a winning record at some point in the season, please, right? And can we at least win like 7-8 games? Like if we're 8-9, but we're looking good and we're competitive, I'm happy with that in year one. I'm happy with that. Some Giants fans won't be. Some Giants fans will be like, nope, that's not what I want. I want us to be in the playoffs. I want us to win a Super Bowl tomorrow. I know that that's not very likely, right? Could it happen? Sure, but it's unlikely. So all I've ever cared about was progress. Make some progress. Let's, at least at the end of the season, allow us as the fan base to say, you know what? I feel good about the direction of this team. We weren't as good as I would like us to be, but damn, did we look better than we have. Like that's That's what I need. Shout out to Nate Talking Giants in the building. Shout out to Maurice. Shout out to Stan. I appreciate all y'all for being up in here, man. And let's look at Stan says very dangerous pest because you overdo the drafting for need instead of best player available. You're absolutely right, Stan. We should be going into every draft looking for the best player available because we don't have a quote unquote need. Right? The goal is to be able to go in the draft and say, who's the best player that's here? I want that player, put him on my team, and he's gonna go compete with somebody else for a spot. Like, that's what we need to be doing. We cannot be drafting for need. Unfortunately, this offseason we're gonna be drafting for need. Because everything is a need. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is a need.
Me personally, what I think is probably going to end up happening is being that we are going forward with Daniel Jones, now it leads me to believe that we're definitely going to go with double offensive line picks with the 5th and 7th pick.
Well, and I said this in my video. How do we actually know? How do we actually know that they're going to go with Daniel Jones? How do we actually know?
Well, we don't necessarily know, listen, the guy could be pulling a Dave Gettleman and say he's going to be here, and then they realize he's not the guy, and they go and they move on. But let's just go with the off chance that he's going to be the guy going forward. I could definitely see them going with double offensive line picks.
Yeah.
I know Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah both have Evan Neal going with the first pick to Jacksonville, which I don't agree with that. I can't see them going with an offensive line. I think they would probably go defense or some type of a skill positional player for Trevor Lawrence. I don't see them going with an offensive lineman. I would personally like us to go after like Evan Ingram and Cross. If we're able to get them both at 5 and 7, I would go ahead and I would get Evan Neal, put him at left or right guard, put Cross at your opposite tackle, and then you could look into free agency. My dream, what I would really like them to do is, if you really want to solidify this offensive line, if they're both available and we can get our hands on them, you draft Evan Neal, you draft Cross, you sign Brandon Sheriff from Washington. And that's probably going to be one of your big free agent acquisitions. You bring him in, you put him at right guard, you put Evan Neal at left guard, you put Cross at right tackle, you got Thomas at left tackle, and then maybe Nick Gates comes back and he plays center, or maybe you go and you look at his center in like the later rounds. That's what I would probably like them to do.
Hey, this sounds like a fucking fever dream, Rob.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If they're able to free up money, they have the ability, especially if they're going to be bringing the majority of the people back. And he said, listen, there are going to be some cap casualties and they are going to have to make some hard decisions, but if they're able to free up some money, why not go after a guy like Brandon Sheriff and let him be the leader on that offensive line? You need a veteran guy on that offensive line. I mean, don't get me wrong. Andrew Thomas could be definitely stepping in, and I would expect him in his third year to step into a leadership role now that he had a great second year, and I would expect him to take on more of a leadership role, but he's got to have somebody that he's got to lean on as well. And I think having a guy like Brandon Sheriff, I think that would be great for a rookie right tackle, if you have to bring in a rookie center or you're playing Nick Gates, I mean, that's only going to help. You're going to solidify you can literally, that offensive line would be done. Offensive line would be legitimately done at that point, and you'd be set. And then you have the rest of your rounds, because obviously edge rusher is a need as well, but I personally can see them bringing in Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes is a free agent from Buffalo, and I think that, Joe Shane knows Jerry Hughes from Buffalo. I could see him coming over from Buffalo to assist and playing that outside.
Damn, that's a good ass point. I didn't even think about who's a free agent from Buffalo because now that Shane is here, we're gonna be an extension of the Buffalo Bills because that's how it works.
Yep, Jerry Hughes is a free agent from Buffalo. I think there's one other guy that's a free agent from Buffalo. I was gonna make a video, about it. But I have some stuff like written down. But Jerry Hughes is a free agent from Buffalo. But not only Brandon Sheriff, I mean, you have Laken Tomlinson from San Francisco 49ers. The guard, he's going to be a free agent. You've got maybe you don't go with a guard, maybe you bring in a center. So you have Ben Jones from Tennessee. You have what's his name from Tampa Bay, the center.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name. I know exactly who you're talking about. He
Ryan
is
Jensen.
Jensen, yeah.
Ryan Jensen,
He's getting ready to be a
Ryan
free
Jensen
agent.
is
Yeah,
also a free agent
yeah.
from Tampa Bay. So, and he could very well potentially be a cap casualty. So there are options there. There are legitimate offensive lineman free agents that you can bring in. I mean, yes, Jensen's like 30-something years old, but he could definitely come in and still play. Ben Jones is almost about 30 years old. He could still step in and play. Jerry Hughes, I think, is like 32, but I mean, the guy could still come in. I don't need this guy to come in and be a Von Miller, but if he's able to come in and like mentor a young Azeez Ojulari and still be somewhat of a dominant player and add somebody on the other side as far as edge, I'm totally cool with that.
Now, there's a hell of a conversation happening in the chat right now, and so Giant Opinion Sports. He said if Hutchinson or Thibodeau dropped to 5, I would take one of them at 5 and an O-line at 7. And he said he doesn't think Neal will be there at 5. He'd be shot. Cross is a different story. And then Stan says if you double up on O-line at 5 and 7, how do you pay them in time as if they all become studs? If you pay all 3, that most likely means the quarterback isn't worth being paid, and if that's the case, we're screwed. Now, Here's what you got to understand, Stan. Salary cap's not real. Like, we've learned that. Salary cap, like, right now, we have no cap space, right? How much you want to bet in about 3 months? No, wait. In January, February, March? In March, in 2 months. How much you want to bet we'll have all this cap space came out of nowhere? So, like, in regards to, like, how are we going to pay all these? We're going to pay them. We're gonna pay them. That's just what's gonna happen, and we're gonna pay those players. So like, and that, I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to find studs all over the draft and pay them to stay, which is something we haven't been doing.
The other thing too is you got to think too. If we draft 2 offensive linemen in the first round, both of our offensive linemen are gonna have 5th-year options. So we basically have 5 years before we have to give them a long-term contract. By that point in time, let's just say Daniel Jones comes into this year and shows significant progress to the point where the Giants want to move forward with him. Okay, so he's not going to demand a high-tier contract because of his productivity. He's probably going to get a mid-tier. I would say he would probably get above backup money if he showed some form of
Daniel Jones
moving forward. Huh?
You talking about Daniel Jones getting backup money?
I think that he would get above like backup quarterback money, like slightly over backup quarterback money, just based upon his play. So I think that at that point, you're going to have the offensive lineman locked in and stuff like that. I mean, look, if Dallas could do it, and Dallas has a first-round pick in Zach Martin, a first-round pick in Tyron Smith, they had a first-round pick in Travis Frederick because he retired early because of an illness. A first-round pick in Lyle Collins, and they've got all of these guys under contract, then we could do it.
We could do it.
You could do it. You just have to make sure that you have your cap situation in place.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to appropriately build through the draft. Shout out to Nerd Cage. Nerd Cage is in the building, and he brings up a point that I wanted to switch over to because there's a lot of talk right now. He says, "Who do we want to coach?" Dable might be going to Miami. Did you see that? Did you see that Brian Dable is the front runner right now for the Miami job per sources? Have you seen that?
I did not see that. No.
Yeah. So apparently he is like Miami's number one choice right now to be the new head coach, which leaves Brian Flores out there, which leaves Patrick Graham. Which leaves oh my God, old boy from the Cowboys, defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. Although there's rumors that Dan Quinn could follow the boat of Miami, I don't know if that would happen or not, but it could. So what do you think, man? Who do you think? Hey, Joel, look at this handsome son of a bitch, Joel, up in here. What's going on, Joel? How you doing? Who do you think? Who are you eyeing to be the next head coach? Because we're talking about players, but the head coach is the most important part right now. So who do you think? Okay, who do you think, and then who do you want?
I mean, my think and my want are the same. I think it's going to be Brian Dable, and I think by Friday he's going to be announced as the Giants, head coach by afternoon on Friday. I'd say probably by like 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon he's going to be announced. And the reason why I want
Good point, Stan. Good point, Stan. I like that. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in lockstep with you, Stan. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean that, and I want that too. Look, I mean, I made a video. It's going to be going up where I kind of give a breakdown of my opinion on my YouTube channel. But I think that Dable is the best fit. I mean, the guy compared to a lot of the offensive head coaches that are available, or not offensive head coaches, but just head coaches candidates that we're looking at between him, Flores, Dan Quinn, Leslie Frazier. I would say that he has more of a track record. The guy was at Alabama, he was at Miami, he was at Cleveland, he was at Kansas City, he was with the Patriots. So he's got 5 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots. So he is somewhat of a Patriot tree. He was the offensive coordinator for Miami. He was the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. He was the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, at that point, look at what – I mean, but people could say, oh, well, he did shitty there. Well, I mean, let's look at it. So, Miami had Matt Moore and Chad Henne. He had Derek Anderson, and he had Brady Quinn in Cleveland. And then he had Matt Castle in Kansas City. So now when you look at what he's done in Buffalo, now people could say, oh, well, it's Josh Allen. Oh, I think it's obviously a combination of both. But when Josh Allen came into the league, just to let you guys know, over the first 2 years going into year 3, Daniel Jones had better numbers than Josh Allen did. Daniel Jones was outperforming Josh Allen from a production standpoint. And it wasn't until year 3 where Josh Allen exploded and threw for over 4,500 yards. He threw 35-plus touchdowns for only 9 interceptions that everybody – and then he made the conference championship that year as well, that people started taking notice. And then this year his numbers took a slight step back at 45, like about 4,400 yards passing. He threw for a couple of more touchdowns, but he threw for – I think it was like 10 or 11 interceptions this year. But, again, was 1 game away from going to the conference championship, 13 seconds away, really, from going back to the conference championship back-to-back years. So, I mean, he literally in that conference championship game threw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, didn't throw an interception, and I think he only missed like 6 or 7 incompletions. So, I mean, when you look at him, he went from probably being an average or a bust or just a running quarterback like they were labeling him the first 2 years, a running back playing quarterback that can just truck you, to now being probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC and potentially in the top 5 of the entire NFL. Mm-hmm. So you can look at Brian Dable and what he was able to do, and I'm sorry, but going into that game, Kansas City Chiefs were probably the hottest defense going into that football game and into the postseason. And they literally dotted the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. That was Brian Dable. He got this guy Davis open 4 times for 4 touchdown passes, had over 100 yards. I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. So when I look at the athletic capability, I think Daniel Jones is as athletic as Josh Allen from a running standpoint. Thank you.
Wait a minute. My illegitimate child from 1738 is in the chat. What are you doing here? I told you never to come find me again.
That's not the child.
I told you I couldn't deal with you and your mama. I'll be back after I get some cigarettes. What are you doing here? I didn't even give you a name. That's how much I didn't care. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's funny as hell. I mean, okay, so yes, I understand why everyone
and Pest Law's child. Yes, Josh Allen was out there playing, but Brian Dable's still calling the plays.
Yeah,
so Josh Allen has to go out there and execute it.
Yeah,
so it's 50-50 there.
The play calling was nice. The play calling was nice for Buffalo all year long, right? For the most part, the play calling was nice. I understand we want to get an offensive-minded coach in here to come in and fix the offense because the offense was the problem, right? We got a lot of studs over on defense, and you know what hurt us for the last couple of years has been offense. I get it. I understand. But I love me some Wink Martindale. And I want Wink Martindale. Listen, I love Wink Martindale. And I'm biased. You know me. I'm a defense guy, right? I play defense. I coach defense. I get it. I want Wink Martindale. I love Wink Martindale. And look at how good Baltimore's defense has been forever. Forever.
I don't even think he's gotten a second interview though.
I know. It pisses me off. I don't know if he got a first interview. I want to Wink Martindale. Now, everybody's talking about Brian Flores. I don't know how I feel about Brian Flores, to be completely honest. Like, he did great stuff in Miami, but there's something happened for him to get fired after performing the way he performed for two seasons, right? With a team that was piss poor. Like, let's just be honest. The Miami's Dolphins roster is piss poor. What are you eating? This is unprofessional. What are you eating on stream? Salad? At least eat something fattening and healthy on stream, man. God damn. This is
fattening and unhealthy?
Yes. Eat something fattening and healthy. If you're going to eat while we're streaming, Findler would be so disappointed, by the way. If you're going to eat while we're streaming, what is that, mozzarella sticks? Where'd you get that from? I hate the way you eat.
Olive Garden?
I hate the fact that your tongue went so far out of your mouth just now when you put that mozzarella stick in your gullet. It's just blah. Blah. All right, anyway. But yeah, so I think it's going to be Brian Daboll. I think that's who it's going to be.
Would you be disappointed?
No. Here's the thing. Right now, I am the most disappointed I've ever been in this team, so I don't think I could be more disappointed. We have nowhere to go but up, okay? There's nowhere we can go but up. So I don't care. I really don't care who the head coach is, right? I know I have my favorites. I like Wink Martindale. I've always liked Bieniemy, right? You know, I'd be totally cool. I suppose I'd be totally cool with the ball. I would deal with Brian Flores because at least I know he's a good coach. But I don't really care. Just get someone in here that can fix this. Don't give a shit who it is.
Well, I think at this particular point that if they are going to be keeping Daniel Jones, then Daboll is the pick. If they're not going to be keeping Daniel Jones, then at that point it's wide open. Because you're not going to bring in a defensive guy like Brian Flores, because you have to look at it from this angle. What guys? Bieniemy's not going to make a lateral move to go from Kansas City to New York. Daboll's not going to make a lateral move to go from Buffalo to New York. So the only options that you would have to bring in for like an offensive guy would be like a Doug Peterson, and obviously like wide receiver coaches or quarterback coaches or somebody, you know, from another team, maybe somebody or whatever the case may be. But Doug Peterson is not going to come in and be an offensive coordinator when he can be a head coach. So at that point, maybe you can bring in like a Matt Nagy and have him be your offensive coordinator or something like that. Who knows? But in my thought process, is that if you're keeping Daniel Jones, Daboll needs to be the head coach, because you see the success that he's had with Josh Allen, and you would want him to try to see if he can have that same success with Daniel Jones.
I just don't
and if it's not Daniel Jones, and you have to go into the next draft and bring somebody in, then you would want Brian Daboll to be your head coach to groom that young quarterback.
I just don't think Daniel Jones is the guy.
We don't know. And again, we don't know. We don't think that Daniel Jones, and I'm not sticking up for him, but we don't think that Daniel Jones is the guy, because at the end of the day, he's not winning football games.
Right.
He's not not winning games. But at the same point, you have to play devil's advocate, and you have to be able to block. You have to be able to run. Your receivers have to be healthy. And if they're healthy, they have to be able to run fucking routes and be able to get fucking open. So, and when you're throwing it to them, they have to catch the fucking ball.
Oh,
So,
Charlie G, did you just say Nagy? Did you really just say Nagy, Charlie? Nagy? Nagy? Hey, y'all. Hey, listen, I want to thank everybody for coming, man. This has been a great show. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, man. I hope all y'all have a great night. This man said Nagy? Hell nah. I don't want no damn Nagy. Nah. No. Okay. Is that Miss Rob Zero?
That was my son.
Oh, I thought that was Miss Rob Zero. I couldn't hear who it was. I just heard someone saying something.
No, she went upstairs.
Oh.
If she was down here, I would have brought her on.
I was going to tell you to tell. Well, just let her know that the check is in the mail. Okay. There's something that I want to touch on. We got about maybe another 20-ish minutes. I don't know. We'll see how long we go. But oh, wait a minute. Before we go any further, there is a nasty, dirty, stinking, disgusting son of a bitch in my chat right now. There is a man that if I had it my way, I would uppercut him into the sun. Because I can't stand this son of a bitch.
By hitting him in
that asshole, I'd hit him in the balls. He'd fly up into the sun, and we'd never see this asshole again. This son of a bitch, Billy Mays, is in my chat. This son of a bitch.
Billy
Shut
Mays, up. Isn't that that Shem Wow guy or whatever?
I think he did OxyClean and he did all kinds of stuff. Billy Mays here with another fantastic item. And then Matthew was up in the building. What's going on, Matthew? How you doing? Appreciate you for popping through. It was kidding. Not sure about the Nagy guy. Okay, here's something I wanted to talk about specifically. So per our general manager, our cap space is a mess, and he is going to sit down with Kevin Abrams, of all people, to try to figure this out, which tells me that at least for a little bit, Kevin Abrams is going to still be here. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I understand why he's keeping him around, because Kevin Abrams knows the contracts that are dished out. You know, he knows where the money's allocated at. He knows the deals that he's made with the players. So he would be the best to really kind of get Joe Schoen up to speed. I do feel that Joe, if he feels that he can work with Kevin Abrams and Kevin Abrams will adopt his philosophies, Joe will keep him around. I think if Joe gets a sense that it's just not working out, or maybe that he feels that Kevin Abrams, because he was managing the cap, you know, has done a lot of stupid shit, he could cut him loose. So, which he has done a lot of stupid shit. You know, so
yeah, but was all that stupid shit because of Gettleman, or was that because of him? Right?
Well,
because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Gettleman is the boss. So if Gettleman said, figure out a way to sign that guy to a contract, Kevin Abrams just did it because that's what Gettleman wanted, then is that really Kevin Abrams' fault?
It's not really Kevin Abrams' fault, because I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to do what his boss is telling him to do, which is Dave Gettleman. So if Dave Gettleman is saying, hey, figure out a way to get this deal done, and he's going to, you know, get the deal done. So, you know, I think, like I said, you know, I think bringing him in, keeping him, you know, because he knows the contracts and stuff like that, see what you guys could do to maneuver the cap. And if they're working together good, then keep them. If they're not meshing, I'm sure Joe will fire him. You know, I believe that Joe Schoen has full control over his front office. I do believe that he's got full control. I do believe that the Maras and the Tisches are going to step back and let him run the show for the first time. I don't think that they're going to have their hands in anything. I don't think that they're going to, you know, try to get involved. I literally think that, and the fact that they've already discussed and said that they just want to see progress, but it's going to take some time. That's what I think. I think that it's going to take some time. It's not going to be a one-year thing, but at the same point, I said it before, this is a great season that's coming up for them to be able to see what they have in a lot of these players, because the schedule that we have is a very, very light schedule. It is a very light schedule. I think we're maybe only playing 1 to 3 teams that were above 500, and I think only 1 or 2 playoff teams. So, you know, that's a very, very light schedule, but it's a great schedule to figure out, to get your offensive line going, to get Daniel Jones going, to get Saquon going, to figure out your defense and get that going. So, We'll see what happens. I think Patrick Graham is going to be retained as defensive coordinator as well. I think
You think? You think they'll keep him?
I think they'll keep him.
I mean, I personally would ask him if he's willing to stay, like, because it wasn't like Patrick Graham was doing a bad job. Patrick Graham was fine.
Yeah,
he's a great coordinator.
Gas because our offense couldn't stay on the fucking field.
Yeah. When you're out there, listen, I've played on teams where the offense was bad and it was really like legitimately up to the defense for us to win games. And we wanted to beat the shit out of the offensive players. Like, get your shit together. We are out here killing ourselves trying to win a football game, and y'all are doing us no favors. So I totally understand that. But I do think that if you can keep Patrick Graham, he did say this was his dream job. If you keep Patrick Graham, that's not a bad thing. It really isn't.
Not. And the thing is, too, I think the big reason why they would probably keep him is strictly because of the contract that they've given to Leonard Williams. I think if Leo didn't get that big contract, and when you see what Patrick Graham has been able to do, I mean, Leo over the last 2 years has been more productive than any of the years that he was with the Jets. So we've gotten really, I'm not saying he's a top 5, player, but who knows what he could be. I could say this honestly, that I've seen the same type of production from Leo the last 2 years.
Yeah. Leo's a good.
Even though he didn't have that many sacks,
doesn't matter. That's not his job.
As disruptive this year as he was last year in the run game, in the pass game. I feel like he was just as disruptive. So if you can somehow, if they're looking at the tape and saying, look, this guy is maximizing this guy that we're paying this money to, and he can get the best out of him. And I feel that Leo would want to adapt to, whatever culture that they're trying to bring. And when you pair him together with an Azeez Ojulari, now maybe you bring in a Jerry Hughes on the outside to play outside linebacker, that's going to benefit him. That's going to benefit Dexter Lawrence. Maybe you draft a young defensive tackle. Maybe you keep Austin Johnson because Austin Johnson didn't play bad. He wasn't playing bad at all. Maybe you bring in a guy like DJ Jones from the 49ers who's a free agent defensive tackle. Maybe you bring him in on a cheap deal and you solidify that, that defensive line there. I think that it could definitely benefit 100%. So, I mean, when you look at what he's able to do, and you have a lot of guys on there that are veteran guys that are kind of bought in and stuff like that. I think it would be, I'd say they keep him around for another year and see what he's able to do and see if they're able to mesh and if he's able to get along with the offensive coordinator and the philosophy and everything that the head coach wants to do. And if it's working out, great. If it's not, then hey, what are you doing? You go out next year and you look for another defensive coordinator. They're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. When I see that Kevin Abrams is still there, well, okay. First and foremost, I agree with what you're saying in regards to the fact that Kevin Abrams has done all these contracts. He knows where the money is. He knows how to get out of them if he needs to. He knows how to manipulate the cap space. Yeah. And plenty of people that have said that Kevin Abrams is like a cap genius, right? So maybe you want to keep that guy around. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he is, maybe you do want to
keep... Maybe those deals weren't done by him. Like, maybe he was just being forced to get it done because get him in was pressure him and say, hey, look, we need this. I need to save my job. Like, get it done. Like, we lost Allen Robinson. He got tagged. We need to get Kenny Golladay. We need to get Daniel Jones, a wide receiver. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, offer this guy a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
No, that's absolutely true. So maybe he sits down with Kevin Abrams. Maybe he talks and says, hey, man, what's up with these contracts? Kevin Abrams says to him, Gettleman's a stupid asshole, and I had to make these contracts happen. But here's how we can get out of the contracts. Here's how we can save some cap room. Here's how we can make some changes. And maybe Shane is like, oh, okay, cool. You know what? Yeah, all right. Why don't you hang around a bit? Especially when I hear about, and I don't know if you heard this, but Joe Shane said on WFAN right after his press conference that he wants to update the facility. he says that the facility needs to be upgraded. He specifically spoke about the draft room and the fact that the draft room has like whiteboards and magnets for the draft board, and he's like, we could put some technology in here. You know what I'm saying? So like when I think about, okay, Dave Gettleman is there, right? He's an old school guy. Yeah. Doesn't believe in all of this technology, doesn't think it's important, doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't give a shit about analytics, or as Joan Shane said, what did he call it? I gotta look. Data innovation, right? Dave Gettleman doesn't care about data innovation, so he doesn't give a shit about having people there that do data innovation, right? No. And so the way Dave Gettleman was walking around the facility, maybe. That's the real issue here, right? Yeah. So someone like Joe Shane comes in, he looks around the New York Giants organization and he says, hey, the game is passed y'all by. Yeah. Like when you look at some of these other teams, you guys are in the damn Stone Age. We have to modernize everything. So maybe he modernizes everything, and when he does that, because he said that Mara and Tish are going to give him every resource he needs to be successful. So that means it's a fucking blank check. I need to get all of this stuff for our facility to modernize it and bring it into the present and to the future. And maybe that fixes some of our injury issues. Maybe that fixes some of our contract issues, our free agency issues, our drafting issues. If we just modernize this fucking operation, because we now know that the Giants are in the Stone Age. They're absolutely in a Stone Age.
I think when I heard that and everything, you could clearly, when you really look at it, it really kind of paints the picture of really how the Giants have been trying to run the organization, and maybe as no fault of their own, but maybe just because they weren't in a position where they had somebody that was able to adapt them to what they want. It's like somebody that has an old car and they want nothing more to just make that old car run. They don't want to put a new modern day stereo in it. They want the original leather. They want the original steering wheel. They want the original this, the original paint, the original white wall tires, all of that. And they don't want to make the upgrades. Now you got a guy like Joe Shane who's coming here and he's like, hey, this is out of date. This is out of date. We need to update this and get to more of a modern day time. And maybe that is the reason why the Giants have kind of fallen off, is because they were so stuck in the times that won them games and won them championships, that the league and everything like that has advanced with technology, with all of these things, and they just haven't moved. They kind of stood in that bubble, and they were trying to get somebody in there that could bring them success in the philosophy of what they were accustomed to.
Right.
And now that you're bringing somebody in that's opening it up, you can – I don't know what it is, but I could just get the vibe from Mara that it's like when he's talking and all of this other stuff, it's like that dad that doesn't like the boyfriend, and the mom is saying, listen, you have to give him a shot. And you're like trying to be nice and you're trying to give him a shot and you invite him out camping with you and boating, and you really don't want to be in that situation, but you have to, because you have to try to, because your daughter loves him.
Right.
And you got to try to make it work.
Right.
That's what's going on right now. I think that he is so out of sorts into where they're going, and it's unfamiliar territory, and he doesn't like it, but he knows he has to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that Joe Shane is the perfect. I mean, look, when you look, just for anybody, just look at what. Tell me a big name other than Stephon Diggs. Tell me a big name, free agent, that the Bills ever brought in. A big name free agent. They had, when you look at a guy, one thing that stood out to me, who was there for a long period of time that was on the defensive line? Kyle Williams.
Mm-hmm.
veteran, leader on the defensive line. They kept him there. Who else? Alonzo Alexander, linebacker, had him there for a long time. Leader. Before he started headhunting people, Kiko Alonso, before he became the headhunter and started doing all these crazy things. But now you have guys like Tremaine Edmonds that's now there. Middle linebackers, been there for years. Leader. At one point, you had Mario Williams that was on there. Veteran, leader. Jerry Hughes, veteran, leader. Jerry Hughes has been on that team since he was drafted, and he's been in the league for 12 years.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for 12 years.
Yeah.
Retaining your players and keeping the guys that buy into your philosophy is the way to go.
Yes.
That is how you build a franchise.
Yes.
Look at the Patriots. Let's look at the Patriots. Every time the Patriots won Super Bowls, there were never crazy free agent acquisitions. There were some outcasts that came in, like Roosevelt Colvin, who was a linebacker that came from Chicago. But Richard Seymour was drafted. Ty Warren, drafted. Vince Wilfork, drafted. Tom Brady, drafted. Yeah, they brought in Corey Dillon or Fred Taylor, but they were outcasts that they brought in for minimal production.
Yeah.
Shane Vereen, drafted.
Yeah.
James White, drafted. Kevin Folk, drafted. Deion Branch, drafted. Tim Brown, drafted. Rob Gronkowski, drafted. Daniel Graham, drafted. Ben Watson, drafted. Matt Light, drafted. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Sebastian Vollmer, drafted. Daniel Copen, drafted. Who else did they have? Logan Mankins, drafted. These are cornerstone guys. Yeah, they brought in guys like Rodney Harrison, but hey, Asante Samuel, drafted. Ty Law, drafted. Malcolm Butler, drafted. Otis Smith, drafted.
Yeah. That's the way you
Teddy
build
Bruschi,
to win.
drafted.
Yeah.
Ted Johnson, drafted. Roman Pfeiffer, drafted. Willie McGinnis, drafted.
You got
I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
It's about retaining players that buy into your culture, buy into your system, buy into what you're building, and you retain those guys, because those guys, when you bring in free agents or you bring in new rookies, are going to show those new people the way.
Yep.
They're going to show those people the right way. And
Yep.
that is how you build the Giants way.
Yeah.
That is how you make championship teams.
Yeah. Think about this. And think about this, right? When you look at the New York Football Giants over the course of the last 15 years, right? How many of our own do we keep? None.
I mean, just look at over the last 10 years. Look at guys that we drafted that we got rid of. That could have been leadership, culture builders.
Yeah.
I'll name a few. Linval Joseph.
Yeah. Linval. Yeah.
Dalvin Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yep.
Who else did we cut there? I hate to say it, but Landon Collins was a leadership guy, was an adapting guy. Cut him. I mean, it's crazy. So you let a lot of these guys go that you drafted in that, and here's the other thing too. And I said this right now. You have a guy that we hated in Eric Flowers.
Yeah.
Horrible. This guy is probably one of the top tier guards in the National Football League. He's definitely probably within the top 10. He is balling out. He rejuvenated he tried playing left tackle again in Jacksonville. It wasn't until he got to Miami. Oh, and who was the coach there that moved him to guard? Oh, Brian Flores. Moved him to guard. Then he went to Washington and he's playing guard. And he's dominating. Bro, you know how many times I saw him pancaking the Giants when we played against them? He was throwing players on their fucking ass.
Yeah.
He was throwing them on their ass. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
But he was throwing them on their ass. And if we would have moved him to guard, if we would have had the coaching staff in place, the player evaluation people in place to evaluate him and say, hey, let's move him to guard. Bill Belichick put Troy Brown at fucking corner during a Super Bowl run because they ran out of corners. And they won a Super Bowl with Troy Brown, and he led the team in interceptions that year. Troy Brown did. It's about knowing your team, knowing your players, evaluating your players, knowing what positions that they can, shuffling people around. Explain to me how some of these players and some of these teams can shuffle offensive linemen around from left guard to right guard to center to this and that offensive line doesn't miss a fucking beat.
Yeah, because it's because they practice well, they train well, and they prepare well, and that's something that we haven't done in a long time because our organization is broken, and we're learning that now. We're actually with this new general manager in, we're learning how broken the organization was before he showed up, which makes me feel bad for a Joe Judge. Which makes me feel bad for Pat Shurmur. I will never feel bad for McAdoo. Fuck him. But it makes me feel bad for those guys because you guys were here and the organization sucked. Like, yes, it's the Giants. Yes, it's historic. Yes, there's a legacy. Yes, you're in New York City. Yes, you feel good with that NY on the side of your helmet. But this organization fucking sucks. Like, this place is terrible.
Everybody gave OBJ so much shit for what he said. But you know what? The man spoke truth. And look, the guy's a game away from going to his first Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and I hope he makes it.
I do too.
I hope he fucking makes it. I hope him and Matthew Stafford fucking make it. And it's a good fucking game. And I hope it's the Rams and the Chiefs, honestly. If it's the Rams, I want the Rams to go. I don't care if it's Rams Chiefs. I don't care if it's Rams and Bengals. I hope it's Rams Chiefs because the last time these two motherfuckers played, they put up 130 points on Monday Night fucking Football.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny because I was sitting there, I was watching the Rams game. Odell Beckham's going crazy, and I said out loud. My wife was sitting there, and I said out loud. I said, "You know what, OBJ? Fuck it, man. Go win a Super Bowl. Go win that damn Super Bowl, OBJ. Fuck it. Like I'm not. Why am I? I was never really mad at OBJ to be completely honest with you, but I was always indifferent about OBJ when he left. But I'm like, you know what? I love OBJ. You go win a Super Bowl, bro.
But that right there is an example that Joe Shane, had he have been here, and not even if he was here, the organization should have realized that is a player. No exaggeration. That guy went out and put everything he had on the field every fucking week. Every week that guy went out and he played his ass off. There was no. I would say on game day, from a work ethic perspective, him and AB were the toughest, hardest working wide receivers on the field. They practiced their craft, the way they prepared. I would say that. That is a cornerstone player. Yeah. I saw him throw that pass to Cam Akers, and I just fucking almost cried. Because all I saw was fucking Saquon Barkley against the Carolina.
I was going to say, yeah, when he did that shit, when he threw that bomb to Saquon.
Yeah, exactly, yep.
Yeah, when he threw that bomb to Saquon.
And I can think now, like,
that's what I thought of too.
Cornerstone guys. Imagine if this team, in this particular time, as of right now, had Saquon. Had maybe somehow Daniel Jones is able to revamp his career. You have OBJ. Maybe you go out and you get yourself a tight end, a better offensive line. And you have a Kadarius Toney. Or you have, I'll be honest, I would get rid of Toney and get OBJ, to be honest with you. I would do it. But it's not going to happen. But those are legitimate players, cornerstone players that you want to have on your roster. You need to have on your roster. And it sucks, but I'm looking forward to what's going to happen and what they're going to do. And I'm excited. And I'm calling it now. Mark my words. Mark my word. I'm going to make
we got a bold prediction? We got a bold prediction? I love bold predictions. Hit me.
I'm gonna make a few predictions. One, by Friday, Brian Dable will be the head coach of the New York Football Giants.
Okay.
We will draft 2 offensive linemen in the draft at 5 and 7.
Because I want 4 offensive linemen in the draft total.
We are going to sign either Brandon Sheriff or Laken Tomlinson or Ryan Jensen. We're going to sign one of those 3 guys, and we're also going to sign Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes will be a New York Giant this offseason. He will probably be one of the first free agent. I would say I would say it's either going to be Ryan Jensen, Brandon Sheriff, or Laken Tomlinson will be the first acquisition, and he will be the second acquisition for the New York Football Giants in the offseason.
Okay.
He will be the first. He will be the second acquisition for that, and
All right.
that's my predictions. Brian Dable will be the new head coach, and once he's hired on Friday, buckle your seatbelts, boys and girls, because you're going to see some fireworks.
All right. So, all right, cool. Check it out. We're at 1 hour and 7 minutes. So let's go ahead and get some final thoughts out there, and get ready to wrap this bad boy up. What are your final thoughts on the state of the New York Football Giants right now?
As far as the state of it right now, I'm looking forward to seeing what Joe Shane is able to do. Just because, maybe he was putting people to sleep, the proof is in the pudding. And I think there's no denying how he ran the Buffalo Bills organization. And if we can even get to that point to be able to compete, imagine the Giants getting to that point in 2 years where we're going neck and neck in the divisional round with the Rams, or neck and neck with the Packers, or neck and neck with the Niners, or neck and neck with whoever. You know what I'm saying? And I'll throw it out here too. We need to get better because, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Payton is going to Dallas, whether people want to believe it or not.
He probably is too.
He's going to Dallas next year.
He probably is too.
He will be a Dallas Cowboy, and make no mistake about it. I'm going to call it now. The NFC Conference Championship will be going either through New York or through Dallas. The rivalries will be coming back. And I am looking forward to the battles because I think that Joe Shane is going to know how to build this team to the point where they will compete. They will compete. I just want to see I don't care if we go 0-17 next season. But if we're going 0-17 and I'm seeing we're losing games by 7 points, 3 points, and we're fighting, we got blown out a lot this year.
Oh, yeah. No more fucking blowouts, man. No more blowouts.
I would take 0-17 and 3 to 7 point games because at that point, to me, that's progress.
Right.
That's progress for me because I don't want to get blown out. I don't want to get blown out.
I mean, somebody getting fired if the Giants go 0-17, just so you know. But I understand your point.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to see the fight in the team.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, my final thoughts for the team right now, this minute is talk is cheap. Talk is absolutely cheap. I am so sick and tired of hearing people talk from the New York Giants. I'm so sick and tired of talking about what the New York Giants can be. I'm so sick and tired of hearing other people talk about what the New York Giants should be. All right? At this point, talk is cheap. We got to figure this thing out. It needs to be figured out quickly, and it needs to be figured out correctly. I 100% hope and pray that Shane is the guy to do that. I am going to give him the opportunity that I give anybody else that comes onto the New York Giants. I will defend you until I no longer can. Okay? And that person is going to determine how the point where I can no longer defend them. I'm going to defend Joe Shane. He's our general manager. I hope he's the shit. I don't know who our head coach is. We might find out on Saturday or we might find out on Monday. I don't know. But whoever that is, they need to be the shit. And we need to fix this thing and we need to get this stuff right. Rob, where can all the masses find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/R0B. So just like you guys see it right here, just as you guys see it right there, R0B. Also, you guys can find me on YouTube. I don't have like a direct link. Once I get to 100 viewers or 100 subscribers, I can actually change my YouTube or monetize it to where it's youtube.com/my name. And I'm 10 subscribers away from getting to that point. I was actually going to tell you, you're over that. So you should monetize it and have it to where they just go to youtube.com/ and then you're.
Yeah, I know. We'll
so
do that.
I was going to tell you that. But, but I'll put my, I'll put my YouTube link. If it's okay with Pest, I'll
Put
in
it
the,
wherever you put it. Also, the links to his Twitter and his Twitch are in the description. I don't have your YouTube link, but that's cool. Put it in there, and I'll make sure that I get it in there next Wednesday when we're back here. All right, cool. So, YouTube, Twitch, and the Twitters, right?
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah, Twitter is
Great.
real_R0B because somebody has R0B that they created an account in 2014 and they haven't tweeted out since 2015. So
Yeah, that
sucks.
That sucks. Yeah. All right, cool.
Bullshit.
So, and with that, y'all, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. You guys know where you can find me. You can find me here on my YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitch, even
Or in my bedroom.
Yeah, you can find me in Rob's bedroom in this closet, hiding. But you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/PTA Sports. I haven't really been doing a whole lot of anything lately because I'm so busy with this new life that I'm living. But I'll be around and I'll be streaming and I'll be doing all that. But you can always find me on Twitter. Okay, PESTALANCE. It's my full government, right? You guys call me Pest, but the full government is Pestilence. So you can find me there. And we are going to get ready to slide on out of here. But for R0B, I am Pest the Analyst, and we will see you crazy sons of bitches next Wednesday. Y'all all take care. Have a great rest of your week. And deuces.